Yeah, man, it's not showing. Hello, buddy. I rolled off. Guess we're not using the webcam today. Just connect. Exercise, man. I don't think I should have bought a webcam for real. This shit, they're clean. Okay, let's go. Close this tab. Close this tab. Close this tab. What are we reacting to today? Oh yeah, I wanted to react to concern. Core. Eh, hey man, how do you spell concern? Concerned citizen. With don't need you. Okay, let's react to this. I'm running my intro real quick. What is good, YouTube? Today we're going to be reacting to Trump's foreign aid halting in South Africa. Concerned citizen. Let's get into it. Share and change the colleague real quick. So, foreign aid halting in South Africa. Concerned citizen. Let's get into it. Okay, cool. Quality's more.
Biting the hand that feeds you is one of the most evil things that you can ever do as a person.
As far as I recall, Donald Trump was not around the negotiating table when we negotiated the end of apartheid. So stick around there in the White House. We will do our business here and we will find solutions for our problems. So stay out of our issues.
So Donald Trump was tired of hearing it, wasn't he? He did what a real president should do. He decided to stop giving grants to ungrateful countries who were recipients of billions from the American taxpayer. Remember how we always say a country is like a family? Well, in a proper family, the father and mother put their children first, put their family first, and anyone who thinks otherwise is delusional. Donald Trump is respected because he wants to put his people first. The woke people across the world hate him for putting America first. How silly is that? Listen to one of our South African comrades whimper regarding this.
The world is baffled about what has happened, about the announcements. We have been fighting the scourge of HIV, AIDS, TB, and malaria together for more than 20 years as a global community. And depending very much also on global funding.
We have been fighting the scourge of HIV, TB, and malaria together. As if AIDS is in the air. It's not a flu. The majority of AIDS cases are self-inflicted wounds, and to bring these cases down, we really need to look at our culture. We will be doing a separate video on that this week, so please be on the lookout for that. And even if we fought AIDS together as a global community, does it mean that the Americans owe us the help that they have been giving us? Here in South Africa, we have had President Cyril Ramaphosa clearly putting foreigners first. He barely takes action to address the issues of foreigners destroying our nation. Jacob Zuma also put foreigners first, namely the Guptas. We have a serious problem of presidents who don't care about us, the taxpayer, us, the citizens. It's almost as if they're deaf to our pleas. Then they want to have a problem with a president who does listen to his people and puts them first. Here's the Minister of Health to tell us more about what it means for South Africa for this funding to end.
Now, the total number of people on the ground who are dealing with HIV.
Total number of people on the ground. Bruh, so funny how politicians talk, yo.
AIDS in those 27 districts. We have got an army of 271,000 people, 660.
What do you say?
27 districts. We have got an army. Now, the total number of people on the ground who are dealing with HIV/AIDS in those 27 districts, we have got an army of 271,000 people, 606 on the ground in the 27 districts fighting HIV and AIDS. 256,452 are funded by us as South Africa from our own fiscus. That leaves us with 15,145 people. Those are the ones who will be affected by whatever withdrawal is there. Now, we are...
But still, dog. Okay, sure. Majority is being funded by us, South African taxpayers, right? Nah. But still, that 50,000, bro. It's still people's jobs. Sorry. Still people's jobs if they're getting paid, right? It's still people's jobs. Hasn't that increased the unemployment rate that the government has been saying that they've been planning to decrease? They're working on strategies to decrease. Some dumb shit, bro. Like, okay, let me just hear what he's saying.
We are buying ARVs on our own with 10% from Global Fund, which is not affected by this. I'm sure you are aware. Global Fund is an international organization in Geneva. We are buying on our own. So our biggest problem will be the salaries and the operational costs.
So basically, a little more than 15,000 people were employed because of America. Is that not a big deal? I wonder what those who hate the West and believe that the West desires the destruction of South Africa and Africa think of this.
But up to so far, we haven't received any letter from the American government. This money, whether from Global Fund or PEPFAR, it comes through Treasury. Treasury has got no letter. Health has got no letter. DERCO has got no letter. Tried to contact the embassy of the US. We couldn't get them. So how do we know that there is this funding withdrawal and all that? Because the actual NGOs and the clinics that are funded from this PEPFAR were the ones who received letters, as you know. But this morning we read again that the Secretary of State has withdrawn that for the time being.
When they tried to contact the Americans, they were not responded to. Well, that is at the time when Minister Aaron was having this talk. Too bad, right? When you create a reputation of being a beggar, don't be shocked when you're treated as one. We'll be doing another video on how Africa, a continent of sovereign nations, has allowed itself to be treated like a small boy by other nations and continents. So look out for that. The NGOs were notified that Donald Trump stopped the grants, aka donations, going to South Africa, and in no time the voices started coming out, whimpering.
The Minister of Health
Hey, I'm sorry, chat. Me, I don't have premium.
Health has said that South Africa is operating the biggest HIV campaign in the world, and US President Donald Trump's decision to suspend foreign aid came as a big surprise.
The WITS Health Consortium and the WITS Reproductive Health and HIV Institute have confirmed receiving a stop order communication from the US aid-funded programs. This follows the US President's order to suspend foreign assistance for 90 days, impacting countries like South Africa, a major beneficiary of US aid through a PEPFAR.
No one cares
Permanent. It's just 90 days. Okay. A lot can happen in that 3 months, Mara. Still. People are talking like it's the end of the world now, dog.
about making sure they protect young people from themselves, making sure that the root causes of the sky-high HIV infections are addressed. Nope. We are right at the end of the problem, throwing money and medicine at the problems. But the fact is, the problem is not the medicine, it is the people. Many value sex and pleasure above everything else. The majority of conversations in certain circles revolve around sex and money. Obviously, when the country is full of immoral people, AIDS and many other STDs will become the problem.
This suspension raises concerns about the potential impact on vulnerable populations, particularly those reliant on HIV/AIDS prevention and treatment programs. So,
more than 7 million people live with HIV, the highest on earth. Are we the biggest population on earth? No, we're not even the biggest population in Africa. China does not come close. India does not come close. America doesn't. And yet these are the countries with massive populations.
Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Actually, I don't know, Mara. Serious.
So we sleep around making babies, encouraging poverty in our communities, in our own country. We contract AIDS and then America helps out. When they even suggest taking away their help, we whimper.
It's already having a negative impact on certain sectors, particularly healthcare. Now, the sudden halt of funding has already resulted in the suspension of a number of critical health support services across the Western Cape, particularly related to the dispensation of vital HIV and AIDS treatments.
That over 1,250 NGOs and clinics receive funding from PEPFAR as part of that US aid program. And this halting of services has had already detrimental effects on communities who rely on this vital treatment.
So American taxpayers were giving more than $7 billion.
How Donald Trump's US aid pause threatens HIV and AIDS support in South Africa. Just 8 days into the presidency, into his presidency, US President Donald Trump has assigned numerous executive orders that are having far-reaching effects across the globe. Fuck, I can't read that.
$1 to people they don't know. Their own taxes were not staying to fund their own public programs. No, they were going to various nations, including South Africa. Question: if America hates Africa so much, why did they help save so many African lives? I mean, the PEPFAR program has been in effect in South Africa since 2004. Why did this nation that hates Africa so much fund us for these 20 years? More importantly, why did our leaders who claim to not need America or the West accept this funding? 1 minute we are being told how we don't need America. The minute America hints at taking their funding, we have outcries left, right, and center, before the government even receives an official letter from America. Yeah, nah? Since 2004, more than $8 billion has come to South Africa.
That program, which has been operating in South Africa since 2004, has resulted in the disbursement of over $8 billion in funding towards HIV/AIDS programs and the dispensation of vital life-saving treatment.
To fund a country that is promiscuous, ranking number 1 in HIV infections. A country with high school children who wear sickening miniskirts to school, and a government that does not seem to be actively doing much to prevent this or change the culture. What has the money been used to fund? Well, some of it was used for LGBTQ hormone therapy.
Now, I'm standing outside the Ivan Thoms Center for Health in Greenpoint. This center provides healthcare services for M2M. That's, of course, being men who have sexual intercourse with other men. And this is, as you can see on the board above me, it's a program that's funded by USAID and PEPFAR. And there's actually a...
That's right. That's why.
Sign outside the building at the moment stating the temporary closure of this facility as a result.
Bro, we all know how Trump feels about this shit, dog. The LGBTQ plus community. That's why. So sfela bona manje. Aye, no ways, dog.
Of that directive by U.S. President Donald Trump that he signed into order on the 20th of January this year. 4 days later, his U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio signing a stop work order halting the disbursement of all funds for U.S. aid to countries around the world. And South Africa falls within that portfolio. The U.S. aid that we receive is not just for healthcare. There's funding as well for LGBTQI support services, for climate issues, etc. But healthcare forms the largest portfolio.
Trump's announcement has seen vital medical treatment programs pertaining to HIV and trans medication being halted. In Gauteng, the Wits RHI clinic is one such example. The clinic, which was well known for providing a safe space for many members of the transgender community, halted its programs related to HIV and sexual health on Tuesday. Many have criticized the move, saying they are left with few options as private care can be costly.
Private care is extremely expensive. I remember seeing my one endocrinologist I inquired at quoted me their first consultation was 1,500 Rand, and thereafter your consults are 800 Rand, plus minus going forward. So I mean, to pay that every 3 months is absolutely crazy, because unfortunately medical aids don't cover hormone replacement therapy. So how this is going to affect the community is honestly terribly, because now there's going to be so many people who aren't going to be able to get access to their prescriptions. They won't be able to get that purely because private care in itself is so expensive.
Imagine that. American taxpayers are funding this. Instead of the government making sure they fight against promiscuity in communities, fight against LGBTQ agendas on TV, especially on Moja Love, they just want to collect funding and throw it at the issues that are destroying our country.
But here to tell me more is a nurse for the Triangle Project, one of South Africa's oldest LGBTQI rights organizations, Carol Lennon, who has been speaking to me about the burden on your facility. The Triangle Project responsible for providing, in essence, psychosocial care for members of the LGBTQI community.
So we've always been about helping people to access the treatment that they need, and meaning, HIV treatment, prevention of HIV treatment, but also hormone replacement treatment.
America was even funding hormone treatments for our own transgenders. It is only fitting for America to not fund such programs, as they are finally starting to speak up and stand up against this nonsense.
Those transgender services where HRT, hormone replacement therapy, has been provided, now has come to a grinding halt.
Why she's so shiny, dog? Like her forehead is so shiny, dog. Like, and I'm not saying that to be rude or anything, but her forehead is shiny. Okay, not her forehead, like her nose, but here.
as a result of those US aid-funded clinics being temporarily closed. But
imagine hormone treatments using taxpayers' money. Even worse, American taxpayers' money. That is just unnatural. And after all this funding, who stood up to say thank you, America? Instead of a thank you, this is the language of Cyril Ramaphosa 6 years ago.
And we've been saying, for this issue of the land, this issue that Donald Trump fears so much, we offer this question of the land. I don't know what Donald Trump has to do with South African land, because he's never been here. And he must keep his America, we will keep our South Africa. That is what he must do. South Africa is our land. South Africa belongs to all the people who live here in South Africa. It does not belong to Donald Trump. He can keep his America. And Ene is even worse. He's even worse. When I meet him, I will tell him. I will say, you, Donald Trump, you are even worse because your forebears came to America. They found the indigenous Americans. They wiped them out. They killed nearly all of them. Rine, we are living as a nation, and black and white, we are going to find solutions for our land question. So Donald Trump must leave us alone. He must leave us alone, Bauri. When we were facing apartheid, when we were facing oppression, he was not here. He did not fight side by side with us. And
when we were fighting in apartheid, this day was on fucking Home Alone.
We were able, on our own, yes, with support of progressive forces in the world, to resolve the apartheid question. As far as I recall, Donald Trump was not around the negotiating table when we negotiated the end of apartheid. So stick around there in the White House. We will do our business here, and we will find solutions for our problems. So stay out of our issues.
Now, he was talking about the land issue there, but he does specify that we will find solutions for our own problems here. So this is exactly what I think Donald Trump is helping us to do. He's helping us find solutions to our problems. Now, Cyril Ramaphosa said these words in front of a crowd in South Africa. He was very bold and eager to please the crowd, was he not? But when he was on the international stage, he behaved better, didn't he? He spoke with more respect as a person who knows his place, did he not? Listen to him here.
Well, I regret to say that I think President Trump was ill-informed about what is happening in South Africa. And I think if he had taken time to get better information from us, he would have been
Honestly, brah, I didn't understand what's going on. I'm just watching this so I can be basically up to speed, because I don't watch the news. So I just heard Trump has issues with South Africa. That's all I heard.
much better informed, and his comments would have been better appreciated by South Africans. Now, we have sent clear messages to the State Department and indeed to the US government about the process that we are involved in. We are involved in a process of consultation and broad discussion on the land issue. And I've often said that the land issue was the original sin that was committed in South Africa when colonialists came. Up to now, we've had 650,000 submissions and proposals that are now being currently considered by our parliament. And our parliament will come up with a report on what should be done. Part of the process could well be you amend the constitution to allow land to then be portioned out to the majority of our people, or you leave the constitution as it is and then utilize laws to do it, to achieve this objective. And we have said, whatever finally happens, everything will be done in terms of the law. There will not be any land grab allowed in South Africa. We will we'll do it in terms of our constitution.
Forget everything you knew about war games. The large-scale action game War Thunder will bring you a storm of...
So you see, in Africa, we have people like Cyril Ramaphosa who will vomit all kinds of poison. Their poison has caused many people to hate Americans who we now know have been funding many programs across Africa, including Zimbabwe, which gets a lot of food from America.
Meanwhile, the decision by the new U.S. President Donald Trump to halt all existing foreign aid funding has sent ripples through Zimbabwe's non-governmental organization sector.
The implications of this decision could be dire for Zimbabwe when non-governmental organizations play a crucial role in supporting vulnerable populations. Women's Comfort Corner, a prominent NGO, expressed deep concern, arguing that the cessation of U.S. aid could have far-reaching effects on livelihoods, impacting the most vulnerable in society.
Zimbabwe, being an agrarian economy, cannot do without adequate funding. Inadequate farm implements will hamper production. The effects will snowball to other sectors.
In 2024, the United States Agency for International Development provided over $360 million United States dollars in aid to Zimbabwe. This aid was intended to complement government's efforts in the areas of food security, health, agriculture, and governance.
Cash-strapped Zimbabwe has been reliant on donor aid to meet humanitarian and social needs. Most recently, urgent food aid to almost a quarter of its population affected by last season's El Niño drought. U.S. aid is funding half of the 4.3 million people facing.
Honestly, I think I've seen that bag somewhere. Yeah. I've seen this bag.
U.S. aid is funding half of the 4.3 million people facing starvation. It's also supporting programs in nutrition, health, water and sanitation, and sustainable livelihoods.
I do hereby declare a national state of disaster due to the El Niño-induced drought. Accordingly, I now invoke Section 27, subsection 1 of the Civil Protection Act.
That allows him to implement extraordinary response measures and accept donor aid.
Myself and colleagues from the U.S. mission here in Harare had a very, very educational and enlightening morning at the food distribution site, WFP and Bowles Food Distribution Site at Chigondo Primary School. There was about 2,500 community members recipients here. About almost $87 million in U.S. assistance is going towards the Zimbabwean people in this lean season. And this will support about 1 million Zimbabweans in about 16 different districts and areas of the country.
Nearly 500,000 Zimbabweans will continue to receive food aid for another 6 months after the United States provided an extra $20 million to help ease hunger in 12 of the country's districts hit by the worst drought in a generation. 5 million rural Zimbabweans are now faced with food insecurity since the beginning of this year. Announcing the package, USAID Director in Harare, Stephanie Funk, pledged her country's commitment to continue working with the World Food Programme to meet the immediate food needs of vulnerable Zimbabweans.
Let's not forget that Zimbabwe also gets aid from the United Kingdom, the same UK that Robert Mugabe said this about.
We have said, even as we acquire our land, we shall not deprive the white farmers of land completely. Every one of them is entitled to at least one farm, but they would want to continue to have more than one farm. 15, 20, 35 farms, one person.
We have some farm owners, especially people of higher rank in society, having more than one farm, some as many as 9. I know of a particular lady, Stop It, who has over 16 farms.
My name is Dr.
Welcome to the wonderful world of animation. Animation involves inspiration.
And the law says one family, one farm. We have people who have a farm and register a farm in a child who is about 2 years old and give him a farm of 800 hectares. But you go and trace who this person is. It's a child who is about 2 years old. So all those things are being unearthed through this audit which is going on.
So, Blair, keep your England and let me keep my Zimbabwe.
South Africa belongs to all the people who live here in South Africa. It does not belong to Donald Trump. He can keep his America.
These beloved African leaders ready to stand proud and utter words that they cannot even back up. Despite their foolish words and actions, at every opportunity, they are hailed as freedom fighters and heroes, and their fellow communists try by all means to antagonize the West. Guys, even Russia and China do not talk the way that African leaders do when it comes to America. Yes, China and Russia are in BRICS and want to move away from the dollar, but they are wise enough to not burn bridges and make utterances that may result in undesired consequences. Let's hope that in their next BRICS discussions, China and Russia will advise South Africa. Former President of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, had this to say.
People the other day crying, oh, I don't know.
What? Yo.
Trump has removed money. He said he's not giving us any more money. Watu wanalia. Why are you crying? It's not your government, it's not your country. He has no reason to give you anything. I mean, hey, you don't pay taxes in America. He is appealing to his people. Shauri yenu bana. This is a wake-up call for you to say, okay, what are we going to do to help ourselves? Instead of crying, tujiulize, what are we going to do? Haya, ametoa hiyo pesa, sasa tutafanya namna gani jameni? What are we going to do? Yeah? To support ourselves. Namna gani jameni? What are we going to do? Yeah? To support ourselves. Because nobody is going to continue holding out a hand there to give you. It is time for us to use our resources for the right things. We are the ones who are using them for the wrong things.
What a lovely response. This recent event shows you the mindset in South Africa. We like handouts. We take no action to remedy the real problems. Prostitutes are busy becoming celebrities in our country. LGBTQ agendas are flooding our communities. And we expect America to come in and save us from the disease that we contract from each other. Entitlement of the highest caliber. Very, very cocky in our speech and demeanor, yet a nation of handouts. The country struggling to contribute to human civilization. We name drop Nelson Mandela and apartheid, and we expect the world to empty its pockets. Meanwhile, we encourage debauchery while discouraging accountability. We encourage hedonism, but we don't want to deal with the consequences. Oh, what a time to be alive. Well done to Trump for standing up for his people. U.S. taxes must be used for U.S. citizens. Anything they give to the rest of us should be met with thanks and kisses. A little bit of gratitude will go a long way. If you're a beggar, you can't make demands and you can't complain. Stay in your lane, shut your mouth, and learn to play the game. I mean, if Russia and China are diplomatic, why can't South Africa learn to be diplomatic in speech as well? Especially if you know that you have no muscle. America has the muscle, hence Trump can say whatever he wants. What does Cyril have? The good thing is that South Africa and all of Africa can build
Cyril has Amapiano and Groovists.
that muscle. I don't see it happening under the ANC though. So in 2026 and 2029, let's vote in a leader with both the courage and the vision to make us a proper, strong nation that does not beg. Anyway, that's it for today. Please like this video, share it with citizens who still think that America hates South Africa. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. A special thank you to every single one of you that has taken the time, the effort, and the money to purchase our t-shirts. If you haven't yet, you can still do that at www.citizenconcern.co.za.
Okay, I feel like this is more gives a better explanation.
Terrible things are happening in South Africa. The leadership is doing some terrible things, and it's horrible things. So that's under investigation right now. We'll make a determination. And until such time as we find out what South Africa is doing, they're taking away land, they're confiscating land, and actually they're doing things that are...
Bro, can you pour me some water? Pour me some water, please.
Perhaps far worse than that.
US President Donald Trump on Sunday made a statement on his Truth Social platform claiming that
They found us. I get what niggas were talking about now. They found us, though. They found SA.
certain classes of people in South Africa were being treated very badly. He vowed to cut off US funding to the country until an investigation into the matter was conducted. Trump's post mentioned land confiscations in South Africa, although he provided no evidence to support his claims. Trump wrote, South Africa is confiscating land and treating certain classes of people very badly. The United States won't stand for it. We will act. Also, I'll be cutting off all future funding to South Africa until a full investigation of the situation has been completed. The motivation behind Trump's statement was unclear and no specifics were provided regarding the alleged abuses or land confiscations. The next day, on Monday, in response, South Africa's foreign ministry addressed Trump's remarks, asserting that the country's Expropriation Act was not an unusual or extreme measure. The ministry addressed hope that Trump's advisors would use the period of investigation to fully understand South Africa's policies, which they described as grounded in the nation's constitutional democracy. In a statement, the foreign ministry said, and I quote, "We trust President Trump's advisors will make use of the investigative period to attain a thorough understanding of South Africa's policies within the framework of a constitutional democracy. This approach will
Let's watch this. Then after this, we watching Pootie. No. There's another video I want to watch first, and then after that.
We are going to...
The Nazi brothers started rival shoe companies.
groove. We are going to party. We are going to hang out. We are going to this. We are going to groove. We are going to party. We are going to hang out. We are going to the spot. This is the groove. This is the party. This is the hangout. The spot. Just look at it. So tell me, dear citizen, when we say stop littering, who are we talking to here? When I talk, they say you complain too much. Look at this place and tell me you don't see anything wrong with the state it's in. The mere fact that we are not bothered by this environment, the fact that we are not bothered by this dirty lifestyle is a sign that we are very comfortable in the worst places. Right where you're dancing is where you throw the bottles. Right where you're sitting is where the rubbish goes. No one is thinking, hey guys, let's have a bag to put our rubbish in. No one is saying, please make sure to use the bins that are around. Please make sure you keep your rubbish with you, and when you leave, make sure you take it with you. Nobody sees a problem here. The fact that we need to be told that we should stop littering is already part of the problem. But hey, shut up. Don't be boring. Don't be like a parent. Fellow South Africans, this is a deep sign that there is something wrong with us. The same people crying about suffering and poverty are often the same people who are unable to keep their surroundings clean, thus making it seem like littering is part of poverty, but actually it is not. Growing up, we were far from rich, but my mother prioritized keeping a clean house, clean clothes, and a clean yard. She grew up in poverty under apartheid, but though they were poor, they kept their Soshanguve streets and homes clean. She told me stories about how the women in the neighborhood woke up early to shine their stoops. They called it Khofrefa Stupu. They swept lebala, that is the front and the back sides of their yards. They didn't use disposable nappies, but those white cotton ones. And even in that department, there was an unspoken competition among the mothers as to whose nappies are the cleanest, the whitest, and brightest. They were very much in poverty, but cleanliness was very important to them. These days, we have people who want to look clean on their face and bodies while their surroundings are filthy, taking selfies for the gram while messing up the environment. We are just having fun. It's not that deep. But actually, it is that deep. What you do in your own house, in your own community, in your own city is what you will do when you get to other people's houses, communities, and cities. Even when you find yourself in a well-kept, well-manicured, clean, and secured community, city, or country, you will disturb it with your habits because this is exactly who you are. This is what you know. It is now deeply rooted in you.
And what better place for a wedding photo? But given the amount of litter strewn around, this...
What better place for a wedding photo?
And what better place for a wedding photo? But given the amount of litter strewn around, this Chinese couple's pictures will need a little retouching.
I think the art area is clean, but the place under the Eiffel Tower is a little dirty.
The popularity of Paris's many touristic sites makes them the biggest victim of littering. The man responsible for keeping Paris tidy says he knows that more needs to be done.
As a Parisian, I'm not happy with the level of our cleanliness today, and that's the reason we're trying to improve it.
A new TripAdvisor survey put Paris down in 24th in the world rankings of cleanest cities. The #1 spot went to Tokyo. These Japanese expats, who were surprised at the state of Paris, have taken matters into their own hands. And once a month they get together, pick an area, and begin a clean-up operation.
It makes me happy because we're part of life here too. So it is one of our duties to clean the streets of Paris.
It may seem like a tiny, silly thing, but what you do in your own house, in your groove spot, can kill a country if there are enough people like you who do this kind of nonsense. You say it's not that deep? It is deep, deeply ingrained in certain people, which is why we see that there are certain people who simply cannot help themselves. When they see a tree, they just want to pee on it, even when the public toilets aren't very far from where they are. That's just how they roll. They see a clean pavement, whether they are walking or driving, they just don't mind throwing rubbish right where someone else spends time cleaning. You're in a car, you could keep that rubbish in your car until you find a bin or get to your destination, but you just can't help yourself. Roll down the window and chuck your Coke bottles, tissue or paper out the window. Why? Let's take care of our surroundings. Let's do better. Don't just watch this and comment, share it with your associates. Talk about it when you meet. Let's all clean after ourselves. You're not being respectful by not reprimanding friends and older people who litter. You are allowing a cancer to grow. You are simply scared. The country is fixed by people who do the scary stuff. Don't be afraid of being called disrespectful for calling out bad behavior. And this is bad behavior. It is disgusting. It's not acceptable. It should be called out so that we can all do better. Anyway, that's it for today. If I have not pissed you off too much, please like and share this video far and wide. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and join our membership. And remember to get to our website and buy your t-shirt. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Katlego. This is Citizen Concerned. And until next time, beware of the comrades.
The Nazi brothers who started rival shoe companies. Yo, I don't know why I'm liking the video because I haven't even started watching it. But
Adidas and Puma are two of the world's most iconic sports brands. And yet, they're both based in this tiny town in Germany. That's because these two companies share a very controversial history, filled with betrayal, sabotage, and a sibling rivalry like no other. Adolf and Rudolf Dassler were brothers, but they ended up starting rival shoe companies and becoming bitter enemies. The history of Adidas and Puma was like a lifelong chess match, where both brothers stopped at nothing to try and destroy the other. Even to this day, their family feud still divides the entire town where they were born, with one half backing Adidas and the other backing Puma. This is a story of lies, secrets, and corruption. It spans 2 world wars and uncovers how the founders joined the Nazi Party and produced weapons for Hitler's army. 2 brothers bound by blood, but driven apart by greed and ambition. This is the insane true story of Adidas and Puma.